major development in the war in Ukraine with landings on the Kinburn Peninsula have been reported. But before we get into that, remember to subscribe and hit that like button to keep these reports coming. Thanks. One of my Ukrainian contacts hours ago just pointed me at this story, and I've did a bit of a look into it, and we'll take a look at the story, and then after that I will tell you what I think it means with things going forward. We'll watch just part of this short video clip. This is reportedly a Ukrainian landing on the Kinburn Peninsula. We can just fast forward into just more of this amphibious vehicle coming ashore. There should be some, yeah, you can see the guys in the back of it there. They're bringing a car with them, it appears. I'm not quite sure. And to give you a bit of a context, this is where it's happening with. And let's take a quick look at this from Forbes. I don't trust any media. One, I think generally not. I know people have all this conspiracy theory stuff going on. I just think the quality of media reports, one, in recent years have gone down. Two, this is war and there's confusion and misinformation in war. So the Kinburn Spit or peninsula here coming in is where we're talking about from Forbes. Here is Kherson. Over this way, a bit off this map, we'll take another look, is where Odessa is. This is strategic narrow finger of scrub, Dnieper, adjacent peninsula. Ignore their ads here. Don't expect that to last. The Kremlin on Wednesday ordered its battered forces on the Dnieper River to retreat to the opposite bank. Yes, the order came 6 months after. Just trying to see if there's anything more matters. Russian control the Sandy Strip will allow them further control into the Black Sea coast, the Institute said in June. So possible Ukrainian Special Operations Force rigid hold inflatable boats. There's also a video that we may look at. Okay, so there's not a whole lot here with that story. We can go down here if you want to quickly. Yeah, this, I'm not going to play the audio because there's music there. This is supposedly also from that going ashore. So I'm not sure of the accuracy of any of these videos, so don't take that. No, I don't want to do that. I just wanted to pause it. But apparently there are landings here, and I think that is a reasonably accurate idea. So whether it's way out on the Spit here, more on the peninsula there, I don't know. Again, here's Odessa, here's Kherson. All this area here, to the best of my understanding, has been evacuated by Russian forces, so keep that in mind. Now, there will be a follow-up story talking about some winter conditions coming, and both of these things are related. And as one of the viewers posted, well, this, talking about Kherson, well, this is more just Russia preparing for winter. Well, yes, but Kherson was the only Oblast's capital that I understand outside of the earlier Donbass controlled area that Russia moved into and claimed to be Russian territory. Now they've withdrawn from that. That is significant. I mean, very significant. We also so they're not doing that just because, oh, winter, it's a little better to not control our own territory. They're forced out of it. And the reason I think they're forced out of it is not because of massive Ukrainian tactics or super attacks or super effective Ukrainian attacks, I think it's back to the Straits Bridge being destroyed, which is, of course, because of the actions of Ukraine. Taking that bridge out has made this much less tenable and maybe untenable to support for winter as they're seeing this. This was, remember, there's actually two bridges right next to each other, one a railway bridge, one a roadway bridge. As of last report, there were a few quote-unquote light trains going across, less than 20 at the report. I think it was like 17. And I don't know what that meant, whether like unloaded trains, just a train engine and, box cars or flat cars moving across, or something more, but, just a few cars on the train or something. But it's the railway bridge is not yet fully operational, and that may take until they're thinking of September of next year. And the road bridge, again, light vehicles on one half of it, no heavy trucks coming across. So that, and they're having to ferry everything across here. And I've seen photos with huge fields filled up with trucks waiting to be ferried across to Crimea. So out here is untenable, it's appearing, for winter. And here is also why I pulled in. This is a railway map of Ukraine in Russian or Ukrainian or whatever, but we can recognize a few things. Here's the peninsula we're talking about. Here's Kherson. Okay, this is coming up here. This will be the wide river coming up here into somewhere in here. I think this is probably the nuclear power plant. This may be I don't quite know, because they don't have any geographical features. So I don't know how correct this is the major river lake here, or whatever you want to call it, coming down here. Okay, well, what do you notice about this map? This is railways, remember. This is a fairly old railway. There is only one, according to this map, there's maybe spars coming off of it, but there's only one railway coming from Russia into this, according to this map, into Ukraine, into this part of Ukraine here. Obviously there's other railways, but so they have to come all the way down here to Kherson, and I don't even know if this actually connects to Kherson here. So that is why, because they can't bring trains across here currently of any significant amounts. So this is at the end of their supply chain. Yeah, I really look at the supply chain as either, and they can't use ship supply train because the Russian Navy has retreated into the ports basically because of attacks, and they're even being attacked, and possibly, I'm being very careful with everything I'm saying here. I have reports of ships sinking, but I don't have good confirmation of that in the ports by Ukrainian attacks. So, and this is Sevastopol. So basically, the Russian Navy is more or less non-operational in this part of the Black Sea. They're hiding in ports. None of their operations are worth the loss of the ship, is what Russia has decided, whatever their operations are. You cannot, so you're not going to be supplying this with boats, with ships, whatever, up here of any meaningful amount. So it's either going to be rail or trucks. Well, rail doesn't really connect very far in here. Rail does come in, and I guess they do control down into Crimea here and then back up this way, but these aren't that hard to cut in winter once in a while. And if you cut railways once in a while, every single rail trip you have to have something watching the tracks to make sure they're not damaged, removed, whatever, that's going to cause a derailment. So it can only move at the speed that something can watch in front of it. And if it's covered in snow, they have to clear the snow, because obviously you can clear the snow, damage the track, and either new snowfall or you cover it back up. So rails have to move at a rate that, whether it's a small something out in front or whether it's just cameras watching, but at a rate that you can break the train, from hitting an obstacle, from hitting a damaged track part. So trains become near immobilized or they risk derailment. And this is what the Germans faced in their invasion of the Soviet Union and why things were so hazardous. So with the abilities of Ukraine, as I talked in what's coming of winter, with winter, these river can freeze over. It can. I don't know if it will, but it can freeze over. It's frozen over in the past. Even if it's not frozen over, small boat operations can come across. If the Russians are having problems maintaining pickets or observations along these rivers because they do not have air control consistently, if they do not have literally eyes all along that river watching it 24/7, day and night, and they probably won't be able to because they don't have enough winter equipment, being able to supply enough of these conscript soldiers that will want to stay out in the freezing night temperatures every day, every night. They'll move into winter quarters, they'll hold up, and they'll leave huge gaps in the lines that will allow Ukrainian special operations to come across. Yes, dangerous, yes, a few times. I do not expect a major offensive by Ukraine during the winter. I do not expect, may happen, but I don't expect it to happen. So they may have, but if you will, commando raids type of things against railway tracks to disrupt train movement. And similarly, you can do not as vulnerable, but you can easily plant explosives, IED type things to get truck movement that will supply along these routes as well. But I'm sure there are many more truck routes than there are rail routes. But trucks have their own limitations on how much they can supply, how much effort it takes. So there's going to be supplying problems. It's going to be holding up in fortified positions. And that's a problem for Russia. Get back to this map. See things a bit more clearly here. So, with these problems likely to happen, what is the future hold here? Well, like I said, I don't foresee a major Ukrainian offensive. What I see is the possibility of Russia continuing to withdraw from this region for the inability to supply it effectively because of Ukrainian small Ukrainian special operation raids. And then once the Ukrainians have confirmed the withdrawal in a region, then Ukrainian occupation of that region. So we very well may see this whole area basically north of Crimea, the Russians withdrawing. Keep having to catch myself from saying Soviets. I'm old. I remember the Soviet Union and it being a formidable enemy, and of course talking a lot about Russia. So this is their most extended, their most vulnerable part of the front lines. Everywhere else they have more, not necessarily good, but more communication supply ability here. Still in the Sea of Azov, I do believe the Russians can freely use ships and boats to supply across the sea into Mariupol or other small ports along the region there. So that, but that is only supplying sort of locally, shall we say, not supplying strategically. So this is not looking good for Russia. This is looking disastrous, shall we say, for Russia. If Russia cannot hold the territory in winter, it's going to be a major blow. So that is my analysis with the landings out here, or tell what is happening here, because the Ukrainians are able to do this in the middle of the daylight. That tells me that the Russians do not have any ability to stop them. If this were a NATO type country, they would easily be striking those small boat operations because they're the most obvious to see that happening. So, very interesting developments. Thank you for making it this far. Remember to subscribe. I will continue covering things as I find interesting bits to share with you all.